Hi, gang. Bob Boving with you for the Mystery Project. And tonight, the newest Peggy Delaney story by James W. Nichol. This time, a senseless neighborhood killing strikes too close to Peggy, Amber, and Carlos. There has to be a search for answers, no matter where it leads.
Hello there. You've reached Peggy Delaney, Toronto Tribune. If you have something confidential you want to pass on, just leave your name and number. The walls have ears. I'll get back to you. If you're calling to give me fulsome, unqualified praise for my columns, feel free now. If you're calling to scream at me, fascist, socialist, cop hater, cop lover, pro-lesbian, anti-lesbian, or anything else that strikes your fancy, go for it. After all, this is a quasi-democracy.
Hi, Bernie. You're not busy, are you?
As a matter of fact, yes, I am.
Okay, I'll only stay a sec.
Oh, please, don't light a cigarette in here.
I'll just smoke half of it.
Oh, good. So I'll just be half dead. Well, it's been nice talking to you.
Actually, I have a problem.
Really?
I told Carlos that Amber wouldn't come back to Toronto and stay with me for another school year if Carlos and I were living together.
I remember that.
And now I have to tell him the truth. That it was really my idea that he get his own place while Amber's here. Amber wasn't really making a fuss about it.
I know that, too. Well, the truth is always good as a last resort.
It's just that I don't know how to say it, without him taking it the wrong way, feeling rejected, all that man stuff. Because it doesn't really have anything to do with how I feel about him. It's just Amber takes up a lot of emotional space, and Carlos takes up a lot of emotional space, and I don't have all that much space.
Know what?
What?
I wouldn't say anything to Carlos until you figure out for yourself exactly why you're feeling the way you're feeling. Otherwise, you'll just do another one of your fudges.
Fudges? I don't fudge.
You dissemble and fudge, sweetheart, all the time. I don't know why, and you probably don't know why either, but you do. All the time.
I don't fudge.
So I found out something kind of upsetting today.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Sammy, you've been fed. You heard about that kid who was killed in the park the other night?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I knew him. Well, I didn't actually know him, but he said hi once when I was standing by my locker. He was in grade 13, so I guess he thought he'd give me a thrill.
Oh?
I didn't realize it was him until Sue told me. And then I did. He was this blonde kid last year who said hi, and then just kind of grinned at me and walked away. I can still see his face, plain as anything.
Oh, honey.
And then the other night he was just sitting there, waiting for his girlfriend, and these goofs came along, and then something was said or something, and they dragged him under these trees and kicked him, and... Well, that's what Sue said his brother told her.
He died in the hospital that night, didn't he?
Yeah.
Almost every month we run some story about some poor kid somewhere being beaten to death or shot or God knows what. These kids make me sick.
Jonathan. That was his name. Jonathan Drake.
Maybe I should write a column.
You should, Mom. You really should.
Well, I will. Give it a month or so. His parents are probably in no mood to talk to a reporter yet.
I could ask Sue if she'd ask his brother. They might want to see you now. Everybody knows your column. It would be a chance to express their anger and grief and everything, wouldn't it?
Suppose they say yes. Want to come along?
Oh. Well...
It's your story, too. And it would give you a chance to see what I do. If you're interested.
Okay.
Oh, I'm too old for this.
For what?
Nooners.
I just want to curl up and stay in bed all day.
Be my guest. Just because I have to go back to work doesn't mean you do.
I like this apartment. It's cozy. Do you like this apartment?
It's all right.
Just all right?
You picked it out, so it must be good.
Carlos, the truth is, maybe, in a way, it's just as much me as Amber. Nervous about the three of us living together right now. You know? And, well, maybe it's mostly me.
You said it was Amber.
Well, I fudged.
Why?
I've been kind of like flying solo for a long time. I've been ruthless about it, pursuing my career. And now I have Amber, and now I have you. So I'm just trying to figure out how to do everything, you know?
I don't see a problem.
A normal person wouldn't. What time is it?
It's 1:30.
1:30 already? Oh my God.
Where are you going?
Well, I work too. I'm supposed to meet Amber in 15 minutes. I'll never make it. Oh my God, look at my hair.
You're working with Amber?
You know that kid, the one who was murdered in Oak Park the other night? Amber knew him. Well, sort of. I'm meeting her. We're going over to interview his mother. Where are my pants?
That's not so good.
What's not good?
About that kid. Anita, my sister, that's where I was all yesterday, with Anita.
Why?
Because Teddy, her son, he was picked up the night before for questioning about that kid in the park.
What?
They think he had something to do with it.
Did he?
No, of course not. Not according to Anita. Teddy was with her. He never left the house that night the kid was killed. But, maybe, look, you'd better not get involved in this one. It could lead to, I don't know, hassles.
Well, tough, Carlos. I'm already involved.
As you can see, the house is full of flowers. Just full of flowers.
And they're so just really pretty, aren't they, Mom?
Yes, they are. Mrs. Drake, I really
Oh,
appreciate...
sit down, please. Sit. Anywhere. I wouldn't have said yes if I didn't want you here, Miss Delaney. Anyway, I've been talking flat out for 4 days now. Talking to anyone I can all day. And crying all night. That's all I seem to be able to do.
Peggy. Just call me Peggy.
My husband would have been here too, but he had to go over to the funeral home. We're going to take all these flowers over there at some point. Visitation tomorrow and the funeral on Saturday. I just can't believe it. How can I be saying those words about my son?
I'd like to hear about Jonathan, if I could.
He was just so good. Well, they often are, aren't they? The kids who these terrible things happen to. Just sitting there in the park, minding his own business, waiting for his girlfriend to get out of work. He'd just started university 4 weeks ago. He was an A student all through high school. He worked part-time since he was about 14 or 15, paid all his expenses from his job at Canadian Tire, his tuition, everything. He was our son, our first, our eldest, taken away from us by some animals. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I just can't stop. I just can't stop.
Mom, maybe this isn't...
No, it's a perfect time. Please don't go.
We're not going anywhere. I want to hear all about him. We've got all afternoon.
Oh, God. That was awful. I feel so sorry for her.
Yeah.
I thought you were good.
Well, I've been listening to people in pain for years.
You were really nice, though. Patient and everything. I had all these things I was planning to say, but then they just wouldn't come out of my mouth, and they seemed so dumb anyway. Do you think you have enough for a column?
Well, for a straight-ahead column. Dead son, distraught mom.
But that's the story, isn't it?
Well, half of it. There's someone else out there who's gonna wake up one morning and find out her son just kicked another kid to death.
Uh-huh.
I'll hold on to what I've got from Mrs. Drake, and when the cops arrest some kid, I'll interview his mom, too. What do you think? More interesting?
Yeah. Talking to one distraught mom would be enough for me.
Uh-huh. Well, it would be for any normal person. Not for me.
Homicide, Detective Szabo speaking.
Hello, Detective Szabo.
Hi. Where are you?
At the office. Amber's in my interview went all right. With that boy's mom?
Good.
Seems like he was a great kid. Excellent student, hard worker, never got into trouble. Damn near perfect.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm. So, how did the cops get onto your nephew, anyway? What was the connection?
Look, this is tough enough. My own department investigating my nephew. I don't need you involved, too. I told you that.
And I told you I was already involved. Carlos, we're on the same side, aren't we? I'm just trying to figure out what went down that night, that's all. I wouldn't do anything that would hurt your nephew or your sister. You know that. Trust me, please.
Some girl saw 5 teenage boys come running out of Oak Park and jump into a car. Like something bad was up. So she memorized the license plate.
Thank you.
It's just, I'm a bit upset.
I know. So, she memorized the license plate?
It wasn't hard to do. A vanity plate. One X-Man. The X-Men are mutant superheroes or something. Anyway, the plate caught her eye. The car's owned by a friend of Teddy's. And the detectives on the case found a couple of girls out in Teddy's neighborhood.
Where, Etobicoke?
Yeah, Etobicoke. That claimed Teddy and 3 other boys were riding around in that car that night with the kid who owns it.
And Teddy and Anita are saying that he was home all that night.
That's right.
So what are those other boys saying to the cops?
Not a thing. So far, everyone's keeping their mouths shut.
Etobicoke is a long way from Oak Park.
Yeah?
But they were in a car.
Some kids were in a car. Teddy dropped out of school way too young. He's stubborn as a stump. But he's a good kid, and he tries hard.
Mm-hmm.
He had a part-time job at Canadian Tire a year or so ago. It lasted for quite a while. It's been tough for him, but now he's thinking about going back to school.
It's tough just being young. I still remember.
Yeah, me too. Vaguely.
So, which Canadian Tire?
Downtown, the one at Davenport and Yonge. Why?
Just getting all the facts. Ms. Reporter, you know. Maybe I could meet Teddy and Anita sometime. I'm almost part of the family.
Yeah, almost.
Hello?
Mrs. Drake, it's Peggy Delaney again. I'm sorry to bother you.
Oh, it's no bother.
Well, I was just going over my notes. You mentioned that Jonathan had a part-time job at Canadian Tire.
Yes, after school and on the weekends. For about 2 years. He had a perfect record. He never missed one shift.
And which Canadian Tire store was that?
The one at the corner of Yonge and Davenport. They sent the most beautiful wreath of flowers.
Jonathan Drake. Best student employee I ever had. Watch where you're going with that forklift. Cripes.
So you must get to know all the kids who work here fairly well.
The ones I hire for my stockroom, I do. Jonathan worked for me since he was 16, I think. An old-timer.
or with the turnover we get.
I knew a kid who worked here once. Teddy Johnson. You remember him?
Teddy Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, matter of fact, I do. Relative of yours?
No. I didn't know him very well.
Shiftless. School dropout. I hired him part-time, about a year and a half ago. Had to fire him.
Why?
Because he was a thief.
You caught him?
Well, no, I didn't catch him. Not red-handed. Actually, it was Jonathan who told me to watch him. He'd stolen some damn thing, a video game, I think, and he'd boasted to Jonathan about it. So Jonathan told me.
Did you have a talk with him?
Yeah. I told him what Jonathan said. He admitted it was true. Said he'd pay for the game. He wouldn't do it again. But I couldn't trust him anymore. So I booted his ass out of here.
Carlos, I have something to tell you.
Uh-oh.
No, not that. Not us. Never. About Teddy.
What about Teddy?
I found out there's a connection between Jonathan Drake and your nephew.
Oh?
They both worked at the same Canadian Tire. Teddy stole some video game, and Jonathan was the one who got him fired.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
Anita just called. She asked me if I'd tell the cops I was at her place with her and Teddy that night. She said they won't believe anything a mother says, but they'll believe another cop.
What did you tell her?
I told her I'd think about it.
Really?
She swears he was there. She wouldn't lie. She wouldn't do that to me. Maybe all this is, I don't know, maybe it's just a...
A what? A coincidence? He was seen in that car earlier, and the attack wasn't even random. He had a grudge against this kid. Carlos, if it walks like a duck...
God.
Let me talk to him. Maybe he'll open up for me, particularly once I tell him what I know. If he is involved, the sooner he comes forward, the better, right? Let me try.
I'll set something up.
No.
No what?
No, I wasn't there. I mean, so what if I knew the kid? I know a lot of kids, thousands. I mean, some I like and some I don't like. I mean, so what? I was home all that night.
Uh-huh.
Look, I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't say anything about the Canadian Tire thing, okay?
Do you know what your friend with the car saying? Why he was running around Oak Park?
He was just looking for an old girlfriend or something like that. He didn't have anything to do with it either. It's like some freaked out...
Coincidence?
Yeah.
Lots of coincidences. Do you know your mom's trying to get Carlos to say he was at your house that night? To cover your alibi?
No.
Do you know what will happen to your uncle if he does lie for you and then the cops prove you were at Oak Park? You want to ruin Carlos's life too?
But it's not an alibi, okay? I mean, do you get it? It's the truth.
Look, Teddy, the police aren't going to magically disappear. They're going to increase the pressure, and one of your friends is going to crack and start pointing fingers. All Carlos and I are trying to tell you, if you go to the police now, show some remorse, and tell them what really went down, it'll be 100 times better for you. Give your mom a break. Give yourself a break. Teddy, come on.
Yeah, give my mom a break. Yeah, some break. There's nothing connecting me to that kid in that park. Not that night. So, lady, I don't even know who you are. Just get out of my face.
Well?
My feminine wiles must be slipping. He stonewalled me.
Where is he now?
Still sitting in the restaurant. Said he didn't want to ride home. He was going to have another coffee, another smoke, then go. Oh, hi.
Hi.
Abe Stein, Peggy Delaney.
Read your column all the time.
Do you?
Abe's a detective, too. He's on the Jonathan Drake case. They just broke it.
Oh?
I called Carlos on his cell to ask him if he knew where his nephew was. He said he was here, talking to you. So I dropped around.
To do what?
Is this off the record?
Of course it's off the record.
Tell her what you told me.
Okay. That kid's car, the one they were driving around in that night, when we impounded it, we couldn't find any bloodstains. But we knew there must be some blood on their boots, socks, pant cuffs. So while we waited for the lab boys to go over the car, we started to look around.
They found 2 garbage bags early this morning. Sitting in a pile of garbage outside a club about 6 blocks from where Anita lives. Full of boots, socks, pants. The car's rubber mats.
Oh, God.
Late this afternoon, we picked up the kid who owns the car again. Told him what we found. Lots of blood matching Jonathan Drake. And we told him it was just a matter of time before we matched the DNA on the flakes of skin and strands of hair inside the socks we'd found too, to him and to his friends. The kid started to cry. He said they were just cruising around Oak Park, looking for some old girlfriend of his. That's all they were doing. Until Teddy recognized his kid sitting on a bench. Apparently, Teddy had some grudge against him. So they all piled out of the car, thought they'd have some fun. But the kid wouldn't shut up. He dissed them back. And one thing led to another, and suddenly they were kicking him. They had him down, and they couldn't stop.
The kid said they really didn't kick him all that hard. When someone gets beat up like that on the TV, the kid said, they don't die.
Carlos. Oh.
Time to have a talk with your nephew. Nice meeting you, Peggy. See you later, Carlos.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Do? Get him the best lawyer I can afford, I guess. But right now, go and see my sister.
Want some backup?
I nearly got you in a lot of trouble, didn't I?
Yeah, you nearly did.
Like fired from his job trouble. Like a criminal charge for obstructing justice trouble.
I know. Oh, God, I feel like I'm gonna die.
Anita, you believed Teddy when he told you it had nothing to do with him. You were fighting for your son any way you knew how.
No matter the consequences.
He's not evil, Carlos. You know that.
I know that.
Oh, God. Oh, my God, I'm gonna die.
Teddy will have to face up to what he's done. But he'll come out the other end of this. You haven't lost him, Anita.
When will he come out of this? How many years?
I can't tell you. I just don't know.
And the other boy? When will he come out of it? My son murdered someone, Carlos. And I knew what he'd done all along.
No, Anita. You couldn't know. Feared the worst, maybe.
No. I knew.
What did you know?
He came in that night. Late. We had a big fight. I couldn't get back to sleep. I just lay on my bed, wondering what I was going to do. I couldn't control him. I couldn't make him do anything. No education, no job. I'd failed him. Failed him so much.
Anita.
In the middle of the night, I heard his window open. I got up, I looked out my window, and one of his friends was standing in the backyard. Teddy threw his boots and some pants down to him. At first I thought he was running away, but the kid just gathered them up in a garbage bag and then disappeared. I could hear Teddy get back into his bed. I got back into my bed, too, silently as I could. lay there all night, frozen. Maybe his friend just needs some clothes, I was thinking. I felt as cold as ice. Teddy left the house early the next morning. I didn't say anything. I didn't turn on the radio all day. I didn't turn on the TV. I just sat in my kitchen. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, a policeman knocked on the door looking for Teddy. I lied and said he'd been home with me all that evening. I would have said anything, used anything, anybody, even you, Carlos. I tried to use you.
Anita, I understand.
Do you have any kids?
One. A girl. Amber. She's 15.
Is she a good girl?
Yes. Well, nothing to do with me, though. I wasn't even around most of the time she was growing up.
I've been around Teddy every day, every minute. Tried so hard. Funny how things work out, isn't it?
You have just heard the latest episode of Peggy Delaney by James W. Nichol, a play called How Things Work Out. In the cast today, Kyra Harper was Peggy, Caterina Scorsone was Amber, John Stalker was Bernie, George Bouza was Detective Carlos Szabo. With them were Linda Goranson as Florence Drake, Chris Benson was Albert, Corey Sevier was Teddy, Simon Bradbury was Abe, and Lynn Darragon was Anita. The music was composed and conducted by Milan Kimlicka and performed by Ray Parker, Kevin McKenzie, Rick Whitelaw, and Scott Alexander. The recording engineer was Greg DeClute, with sound effects by Matt Wilcott. The associate producer was Colleen Woods. Production and direction were by Bill Howell, the executive producer of the Mystery Project. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. See you next week.